Bienvenidas y bienvenidos, Quali Tonali, morning. Welcome to PNN KXU, Poor People's Revolutionary Radio at 96.1 on the dial in East Oakland, Huchin, and streaming live online at www.poormagazine.org/radio. This is Muteado Silencio con voces de migrantes en resistencia, in studio with formerly houses poet and poverty scholar Micanala Tiny and Uncle Francis.
Yeah, that's the homeless kid. You bum. You think we don't know? You think we are dumb? Yeah, that was me. And so many more homeless families hiding on edges of streets as we sneak into school, into churches, into doorways, trying to pretend, hoping no one sees where our days end. That's the homeless kid, the one we trying to erase from the grid. Hey, where you get them shoes? Salvation Army free bucks? Don't you know the rules? Don't bring your sorry ass into this class. Don't sit next to me. Do you even take a bath? We have homes. We don't live in cars and tents and shelter addresses unknown. Your mama take crack? Get away from me, they would tell me. Hard to swallow the truth behind verse anymore. Behind capitalist lies of who deserves to be a child. Hey, but don't act like you sad. Houseless families are evicted every day. No one stops to say, this is a baby who should be safe. Because the lie of rent matters more than babies living in a tent. Because the lie of rent matters more than our babies' lives ever meant.
On today's podcast of Poor People's Radio, we feature Hobo Scholarship from formerly houses Hobo Hawaiian elder Uncle Francis, as well as a segment from Dr. Sweet. AI is not your friend. All of that, but first, we hear from ruthless radio reporters who are struggling with the violence of being swept like we are trash right here in Huchun, Oakland, and have come to our humble homefulness hotel fund for support.
My struggle is I'm homeless. I've been homeless too long. I've been homeless 29, close to 30 years, you know. And I'm the type of person don't look out for handouts. I might ask for this, ask for that, but I will work for mine, you know. But at the same time, I'm just tired, you know. I'm too old. I'm getting too old to be out here like this. My birthday is in September. I was on the 3rd, and I'll be 63 years old.
Wow. What were you staying before this? You staying at a friend's house, your car, your RV?
With a friend. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I haven't been in cars. You know, I did it all. But, you know, I'm still here being that I stayed out the way.
So again, you know, we're asking folks, you know, if you can help us with donations, so our brother Clifford and many other folks can at least get out of the streets for a week or so.
Yes.
And again, thank you for Clifford for sharing your story, brother.
Never a problem.
All right.
Okay.
You see the next one, Tibu?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, wait for a second. Ruthless Radio, Poverty Scholar. Right here in tune. No, that's not it. Sorry. That was last week's. I messed up. All right, family. So we know that putting folks, you know, giving folks a hotel room ain't a solution at all. It's really just, you know, one little tiny bit. But let me tell you, when you outside and you don't got a pot to piss and a roof to call your own, 1 week in a bed, 1 week with a hot shower,
right.
That's some realness. Right. So yeah, that's all we got because the settler colonial governments got nothing for us. There was a moment when they had hotel vouchers in all of these settler towns from Frisco to Oakland, from Huchun to Aldama, but somehow they lost the funding for that. Somehow they never listened to us poor folks about our own solutions. And so all of that is gone. So yeah, us poor and houseless folks who know that pain of no hot shower, of no bed to call your own, of no place to sit and just be calm for a minute. We raised our money ourselves along with you, beautiful housed relatives who listen to us.
Right.
to make this possible, because we don't got no money. We don't got two nickels to put together. But thanks to the generosity, uh, like my sister Ifalau says, the best city is generosity. But thanks to y'all's kicking down, we were able to build up what we call the Homefulness Hotel Fund. And we do ask you to support that, because there's no bankster support, there's no government support, there's no settler colonial support. There's only all y'all opening your hearts. So if you can, please support the Homefulness Hotel Fund. Every week we're putting 3 to 5 people in the motels in both Huchin, that's Oakland, and Yalamu. Today, Tuesday, we do the Homefulness Care Team out in Yalamu at 3390 Cesar Chavez Street, right there. If anybody who needs the support is watching us, come by. It starts at 11 o'clock. We also do Poor People's Law Clinic and work with our sister Junebug and other warriors from Poor Magazine who are poverty scholars and understand this struggle. And right here in Huchin, we do it every Monday at 9 a.m. So anyway, having said that, if you can support, it's Venmo Poor-Magazine. And it's also, I don't know if you have that flyer, Tibu, but it's also the Lie of Rent Fund. We're also trying to support folks. And the PayPal is poormag@gmail.com. Again, every bit helps.
Yes.
We appreciate you.
Yes.
I can't do it without you. Oh, Mateo. So, having said that, family, as we're talking about homelessness in the so-called 21st century of the settler colonial project called Americlan, all these stolen lands, we recognize also that poverty and homelessness didn't start yesterday. I mean, you could argue really, without question, it started when the colonizers came to Turtle Island, when it came to the islands, nations of Puerto Rico and Hawaii, and suddenly said, oh, we're going to be here, right? And so for us, it's always making those connections, right? One of the important things is that there in the 19th and 20th century, there were other poor and houseless people going all the way back, right? The pauper laws criminalized poor houseless people's bodies. They set up the settlement houses, which made money. There was the original non-profiteers. I've spoken a lot on this. If you follow my podcast from a poverty scholar, I teach on this all the time. But we know that in the United Snakes, there is a community called the Hobo culture. We're blessed in our own family here at Homefulness to have a genuine hobo. Having said that, this powerful relative, this powerful elder is harkens from the islands of Hawaii, born in Oahu, raised on the Big Island, and so brings that medicine as well, always to his work in terms of the kuleana and the responsibility to Mother Earth, and is always teaching and oftentimes grumbling at us folks here at Homefulness. We love you, Uncle Francis. Uncle Francis, can you tell listeners and viewers maybe a little bit of history about hobo culture in the United States?
Sure. Hobo is just another brand of a homeless person. Except, if you ask a hobo, "Are you homeless?" They would say, "No, I have a home." So, jokingly say, the third boxcar midnight train, destination Bangor, Maine. That was our home. The backpack was our home. We did not. Many hobos, not most, but many hobos were rebels, renegades. They wanted nothing to do with civilized society. They wanted nothing to do with government, because many of them had a rough treatment. A lot of people became hobos because of the Great Depression in the 30s. A lot of families forced their children, teenage children, out of the house to go look after themselves, because the family, mom and dad, could not feed them all. And so uh, they would the only place they could find work and find sustenance was out west, where the agricultural industry was still operating. California, especially. So they came west looking for agricultural work, found it. If nothing else, at least they could nibble on the vegetables in the field, you know. And that was the start of what I call the modern era of hoboing. Uh, the first uh, era, I could call it, was at the conclusion of the Civil War, when the soldiers were demobilized. You know, they didn't help them to get home. They were on their own. They had to get home however they got home. And the only thing that was moving at the time were trains. So, you know, if the train was going in their general direction, they'd hop on the train.
Mm.
The second wave of hoboing history was the construction of the Transcontinental Railroad, which began in Council Bluffs, Iowa, where the Union Pacific began building west, and in the west was the Central Pacific building east. Uh, so the men in the east would hop on the supply trains heading to the railhead, and they get there and they would hang out there and hopefully get hired by the contractors building the track west. That was the second, I guess you could call that, era of hoboing. Um, right now, historically, we're in the second phase of I call the second phase of mass homelessness. The first time that we had a situation of mass homelessness was again caused by the Great Depression. Especially out west here, many shanty towns were constructed by the homeless people outside on the edge of the cities. And some towns across America actually built boarding houses for these people that lost their homes because of the Depression. Now, from my own experience of studying the history of homelessness, hoboing, and whatever you want to call it, I find the difference between now and then. Back then, there was more compassion in America. Today, it's extremely hostile because we have right-wing organizations such as the Cicero Foundation, which is uh, spearheaded by a guy named Joe Lonsdale, a tech uh, millionaire, made his money developing the software that created Palantir. Palantir is an analytical software that, the flock cameras we hear so much about. They bring in so much information. You got to have a way to analyze it and find out whatever you're looking for. And Palantir is one of those organizations that analyzes the mass amount of data that flock cameras pick up. It's Cicero Institute. I don't know what it is. Foundation Institute are responsible for the recent hostile city ordinances in Fresno that we're all familiar with.
Mm.
Okay, they're the ones that wrote up that what eventually became the ordinances criminalizing sleeping outside,
Right.
and that's what they're about. All these rich people telling people what's wrong, why there's, and also now we hear, homelessness is not a housing problem. It's a mental health, drug addiction, alcohol addiction. That's what's causing homeless. And any sociologist, anybody that puts research into homelessness, you gotta say it's a lack of affordable housing. It's not, yes, homeless camps are filled with people that have mental health issues. substance abuse issues, these things. That's real. But the question that nobody addresses is, where it's kind of like the question, which came first, the chicken or the egg? You
Mm.
know, did did they did this the mental health issues, substance abuse issues, bring them to the homelessness, or then did economics bring them into homelessness? And then when they got there, the, the living was so hard and arduous that you had to medicate yourself to survive,
Right.
basically,
Right.
So
Let,
you come.
let me ask you something. Let me ask you something before we go down that rabbit hole, because I absolutely agree. But you being a hobo yourself, what was the original reason? Do you remember that you joined into that culture, and
Oh,
not the least of which has to do with poverty and
good
joblessness?
question. You have this class, political education. I got my all the political education I needed in the third grade when I was severely punished and humiliated for speaking my Hawaiian language in class one day. I mean, the first punishment, I was made to sit on a where that little. You remember the dunce cap? You know, the
Mm.
dunce, the stool in the corner. The teacher put a little witch's hat on your head.
Wow.
I had did that, uh, and then I was further humiliated and called a savage because I dared to bring my Hawaiian food to lunch one day.
Wow.
Okay, which Hawaiians eat a lot of fish. Dried fish is kind of got a little odor to it. And I was called a savage at that point. And then also I'm being taught the history of the pilgrims. Shit, I had my own history.
Okay.
Why aren't you teaching me my cultural history? Why do I have to learn about these European people that came to America, decimated the native population, the First Nations people, eradicated them, you know? And then another piece of political education I went to the movies one day, and it was a Cowboys and Indians movie. All right. And then there's this battle between the settlers, going across America, stealing land. Uh, and then the cavalry come, and the whole damn audience in the theater. Mostly, I'm looking at my brown skinned brothers and sisters, and Asian brothers and sisters that have been
Mm.
humiliated and oppressed by this European wave that came across the world, and you know.
And they're cheering.
And
for
I'm
the
looking at them
Cowboys.
saying, and I say, "You cheering for the damn cavalry that are gonna kill the brown skinned people? They look those Indians, those savage Indians, look more like me than those cavalry people. What the hell you?" I didn't understand that. Pretty much from that point on, I wanted nothing to do with them. I like American people. I've gone all over this country, visiting America, learning about good people. I've often said American people are really good, kind-hearted people, but our government sucks.
Yeah.
Our political process sucks. The political process has nothing to do with bringing democracy to people, but really filling their own pockets with wealth. You know, so basically, I had a big grudge against American governments to the point where for about 15 years I was a safe cracking burglar of post offices.
Woo! Okay.
There was no
Poverty crimes in the house. Hello.
I totally enjoyed breaking into a post office, opening that safe, and stealing all the damn stamps I could get out of there. One time I come out of a post office about $100,000 worth of stamps.
Woo!
And
Okay, poverty crimes
had,
being released over here at Poor People's Radio.
so I can talk about it, because
But
but
so that was the beginning of your resistance,
my rebellion,
right?
And I did that for about 15 years. I got to know some underworld people. I like the underworld people more than I like the government.
Mm-hmm.
They were ruthless, but they at least they had an ethic. Uh, so that's how it started. Now, how did I get to the trains? One day, I had a car. It was barely moving, but it was
Hoopty.
my daughter's 16th birthday, and I had a special gift for her. So I made my way to New York to go visit her, gave her the gift, and then went went uh, went wandering through the Adirondack Mountains just to be by myself. My car broke down in a thunderstorm, so I'm puzzled now. I mean, I'm on a mountain road, 2-lane highway, ain't much traffic coming, so I'm stuck there.
Ooh.
All of a sudden, I hear this loud noise. I look to my right. There's a train going by, and I get this inspiration. Oh, I'll just walk over there and catch one of those trains. Had no idea how to catch a freight train, but that's how it started for me, riding trains.
Okay.
Uncle Francis, I have a question before you move on. You know, in the current time, you see the persecution and the criminalization of houseless folks, which some we consider hobo.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about back then when you started? Was it the criminalization is the same? Was it different? And another thing is, what we see nowadays is that a lot of people are in constant movement because of the constant criminalization and people being swept and again it forces you to be on the constant move. Was that so too? Is that why people got on the train? It was always more of the of just knowing the different sceneries and just going away.
Well,
But if we could talk first about the criminalization, was it the same? Is it this different? Or...
it was different because the hobo ethic. We had an ethic. We had rules. I mean, no, it wasn't somebody sat around in a circle and made up rules. It's over time these practices. The hobos understood that it was, you follow certain steps, things will be okay. One of the things, principles of being a hobo, you come to a town, like for instance, I mentioned this before, Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City had two big railroad yards. It was a good crossroads. You get there, you come up, if you're coming from the West Coast, you come across the desert. By the time you get to Salt Lake City, you're out of supplies, especially water. So you get off, you might be low on cash. It was a good place to pick up work and say what you want about the Mormon faith. They're kind of different from other Christians, right? But they, you know, they were religiously generous with help. You could sit in a Pioneer Park all day back in the day, behave yourself. You didn't leave a mess. When we got up in the afternoon to go back to our camps, we cleaned up the area, put it in trash. We made it very obvious to the people. We made a show of it. Okay, we're going to use your park, but when we're done with it, we're going to leave it like we found it. If you left it clean, we're going to leave it clean. You leave it dirty, we're going to leave it dirty. Okay, this is how we operated. Now, to some degree, the hostility toward homeless camps, I blame sometimes the homeless camp because it's always filthy and unsanitary, our homeless camps. And I also blame the cities because the city could put a damn dumpster there
Right.
and pick it up every day, and
pick the trash
and
out.
the people will put their trash in there.
Right.
The homeless people aren't ignorant; they just don't have resources.
Right. And they also do illegal dumping, and they also
Yeah,
continually.
where's all that drywall coming from?
Yeah,
All the
exactly.
drywall.
And a giant
pieces of drywall.
treadmill, for Christ's sake, out of the condominium of the gentra effers.
I suggested that to one city council member, a county person. Why don't you put dumpsters at the homeless camps so the homeless people will throw their trash in there
Which
instead
we
on the
would
ground?
happily do.
And that person said to me, well, then the other people will start using it. Well, who the hell gives a damn?
You want to get rid of trash.
It's trash. If they don't put it in your dumpster, they're going to put it on the ground. It doesn't make no sense.
Right.
Oh, we don't want the community to have free access to trash dumpster.
And so they're setting
Oh,
us up.
wow.
Yeah. So I blame the city for, it's a simple matter to keep a homeless clean. If you give the people an opportunity to
Right.
put the trash somewhere.
Right.
The hobo leaves his camp every day with a bag of trash. The first trash can he comes to, he puts that bag of trash there. We came to towns and cities because we needed the resources in those towns and cities. We knew that if there was work to be had, we might find it there. But if we come to a town or city and disrespect it, nobody's going to want to help us.
Yeah.
We knew that instinctively. So that's how we operated. We had a saying among the homeless. It comes from gangster stuff. You don't shit in your own backyard.
Right.
Right.
Literally.
Yeah.
But I just have to say too, as a daughter of a homeless mama, when we were on the street, there was a consistent and nonstop harassment, not just by the police, but by the hater neighbors, who the minute that you even would dare to put up a tent or have a lean-to, in a doorway, they would call the pigs on you. So the only reason that we come together is to keep each other safe. And when
Right.
we do,
Right.
they criminalize us for that. So I know that part of the thing Moot was saying, I just want to add to that is, when you guys were together in a hobo camp, was there an immediate call of the police?
No.
That's
Now we're what you're bringing up is modern day today
right. Situation.
reality.
Yeah.
Whereas what I'm talking about, the world was a more compassionate place.
Right.
You don't have much compassion in America today.
No.
Has a lot to do, with this orange moron that is
Yeah.
the president that has a walnut-sized brain.
Yeah.
I mean, the president sets the tone for the nation. Always has been, always. Maybe not so strikingly. For instance, John Kennedy, it was upbeat. Everybody was upbeat because he was an upbeat guy. He spoke of positive. He had a positive outlook on things. Trump has a nihilistic outlook on things. Everything is ugly and bad except for him.
Exactly.
I mean, he's like it or not, he has set the tone for the nation.
But so when you guys were gathered together in that time, they didn't call the cops on you. They helped to feed you.
We all, we had a reputation of not being messy. We had a reputation of not putting a tent up in the park. We almost didn't have a tent.
Mm.
We carried a canvas tarp to make a shelter if it rained. That's all. We did not make permanent housing because it was not our property to do that. We borrowed it for the night. We had no problem doing that. Go sleep, unroll your bedroll, you lay down, go to sleep. Get up in the morning, roll up your bedroll, put it away, and go on about your business. Okay.
Right.
We knew instinctively if we abused the hospitality of the host town, they're going to run us off. Now, occasionally, the town, somehow a town like Reno or something, some small railroad town, would have a big influx of homes. This happened to happen. They didn't plan it, and the cops would run them off. That did happen because hobos, they like their alcohol. I mean, we did do a lot of drinking. It eased the monotony of waiting for a train.
But they weren't. What you're saying is the first response was not to try to eradicate you or erase you.
No, because we conducted ourselves respectfully amongst the we call there were hobos, and then there was the civilians, the citizens. We call them civilians. Like the hobos had the hobo, they like the little military thing, and then there were the civilians. We did not mess with the civilians thing. We did not, you know. Eventually, that the ethic disappeared about the hobos coming into Salt Lake City to the point where there was so much trouble that the city passed an ordinance that if you didn't want these hobos on your land, you put up a fence, and if they went over the fence or to the fence, they're going to go to jail.
And when about was that?
That was in the
30s or
began
40s?
no, in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
More recently.
Yeah.
Now they're building a detention camp for us
You're
houseless
right,
people.
Right.
We're running out of time, Uncle Francis, and we're going to bring you back again because this is an open and beautiful
Yes.
book.
Yes.
But before we close out, what last kernel of knowledge would you like to leave listeners and viewers specifically about how they should think about this history, this culture that you all created?
Well, I think the hostility toward houseless people, unhoused people, has gone so far over to the right that I don't know if that's ever bringing it back to the center.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
I am pessimistic about the future for home. Look, this is Salt Lake City's or Utah. I don't know who was the impetus for the city or the state attempt at building essentially what they're calling is a homeless services compound. But take away all the beautiful flowery words. It's a detention camp.
Yeah.
It's a concentration camp.
Yeah.
It's no other description. Salt Lake City has purchased the 16 acres they plan to build this facility on.
Yeah.
You look at the artist's conception, it looks like a nice senior, old folks home. It looks pretty,
Right.
but it's a prison.
Yeah.
The people going in there will be under lock and key.
Yeah.
But the one grain of hope I have is that because of Trump's war, there's not much money. They're having problems getting money. The last I heard was that they're going to apply to HUD for a grant to build this facility.
Mm.
At this point, I don't know which states there. There's 10 states that are pretty well adopting the Cicero template for dealing with homelessness. It's criminalized being
Yeah.
poor,
Yeah.
basically.
And-
but because the Trumpians just went to Congress to ask for another $60 billion to fund the war, and so the money's tight.
Okay, they
So-
may not build the jail for us houseless
So maybe
people.
they,
Maybe we'll get a little more time.
but
Yeah.
there's 10 states that going in that direction,
Yeah.
and that's what I see with the future for homelessness is that it's going to get much more hostile. And we have the Supreme Court that is not too friendly to the people. It's all about supporting Trump.
Yeah.
But that's my
Okay. And I just want to lift up Uncle Francis as one of the warriors here at Homefulness, which is a homeless people solution to homelessness, and why we're trying so hard to mama fest more. Yeah, we're not a giant supermarket solution. Those aren't real solutions anyway.
Yeah.
Those are jails. Those are shelters. Let's talk about actual solutions are the kind of solutions that the people create. And one of the things we practice at Homefulness, a very important part of Poverty Scholarship informed work, is lifting up our elders, is practicing eldership, is lifting up our disabled brothers and sisters, and lifting up the real story, her story of this original genocide, and walking alongside our First Nations folks, because we know this is not our land, and Mama Earth is never been for sale. So I just want to clarify that when you're actually listening to the people, you're not only are you not building jails, but you're actually building love, and that's some of the hardest thing to do, especially if you've never really gotten a lot of that love. I just want to shout out and love to our Uncle Francis, who again harkens from the islands of Hawaii and brings us this kuleana, this spirit, this love. We'll be having Hobo Scholar back, so don't get twisted. Also, shout out to our relatives at Etna Street, Solidarity, our shout outs at Wood Street Commons, all of our fellow poverty scholars out there, and also shout out to Homeless Law Center, because like Uncle Francis said, right now, not only in Louisiana, but also in Colorado and many other places, they have actually passed these anti-houseless people laws, or I call them lies, all rooted in the settler colonial lie that just because you po, you don't deserve a home, just because you don't got the lie of rent. And so I want to just lift that up. Also, Western Regional Advocacy Project. Stay tuned and follow homeless _ law, because they're going to be having a year look back on how we're surviving this anti-poor people orange man policies, because yes, that executive order they signed in the beginning is impacting what we're doing now. And of course, we knew before the orange cracker in the white people's house, there was already anti-poor people laws and lies with neo-colonial and neoliberal systems. So having said that, you're listening and watching Poor People's Radio. That's PNN, not CNN, people. And our last segment is a little bit of knowledge from our other powerful elder. We have a lot of them. Beautiful, beautiful poverty scholar, incarceration scholar. They took 38 years away from his life from this prison industrial complex. Dr. Sweet on the lie of AI and why it's not your friend.
Okay, I want to leave you with one thought. And this thought, not one thought, this thought. The last time that the United States community faced a crisis was the crack epidemic of the 80s. And the government's solution to that was to imprison their way out of the problem. So that the laws were changed. It made it easier to imprison people busted with drugs. We filled the prisons up. The drug situation never changed. Since Nixon declared war on drugs in 1971, last time I checked, over $1 trillion have been spent on the war on drugs. You see any change in the drug situation in America today? So obviously, incarceration, you can't incarcerate your way out of a problem. So they're going to try it again with homelessness. We're going to incarcerate the hell out of the homeless people. And maybe, that's what they said, maybe we'll get ourselves out of this issue. The bottom line is there is no low rent housing for the low rent, for poor people. There is none. Now, when we had the last time we had a housing crisis was in the 30s, and what solved it was they passed the National Housing Act. They started building houses. The government put money out to build houses. And that solved the problem for the moment. So
yeah, they've destroyed it now under RAD and No Home 6.
No, there was another, bill passed for housing that Trump would not sign.
Exactly. And we have to move on, but thank you for leaving us with that crucial point. Let's listen to Dr. Sweet on AI's not your friend, fam.
No, it's not.
I don't have it. But there you go.
That's oxymoronic. How can something artificial be intelligent?
Okay. Exactly.
For the poor people, The rich continue to try to put hands on us. Today we're dealing with AI. We all see it on the bulletin boards, in the news, on our phones. You can't escape it. AI is considered smart. How smart? Supposed to be helpful and entertaining, but lots of people don't think so. The problem that comes with AI until it's affect them and their homes. I'm talking about the people who have destroyed this planet with this AI crap. It's messing up our water. We're paying more for electricity. We're paying a higher price for water bills. We're living in districts that are just torn apart because of AI.
So yeah, we're going to be having
For the poor people.
that's an excerpt of Dr. Sweet's powerful rant about this violence of so-called artificial intelligence, and the entire podcast will be available this next week. We're just giving you little small amounts right now on poormagazine.org/radio. Also, just want to lift up Dr. Sweet and all of the radio programmers at Poor People's Radio. Our Poor People's Radio podcast class is on Thursday here at Homefulness at 4:30. And there's still one more week for folks who wanted to join. But stay tuned, because there'll be a lot of new, powerful poverty scholars coming up on the air. Shout out to Momi Palapas and Pinon. We are all connected. That can be heard on Thursday night on the same channel as well. Angel Heart and the People's Botanica on Thursdays. Slave Revolt Radio with Gerald Smith on Wednesdays at 6. And Mark G., a powerful poverty scholar, survivor of the prison industrial complex, and poet, also on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. So there's a lot of powerful work out there. You know, corporate media is not ever and should never be our source for truth. Because as we say, the revolution begins with I and then becomes we. And as a poor people movement, our voices need to be leading the solutions about poverty and homelessness. Back to you, Mo.
So that's all for this edition of Poor People's Radio. To get a complete podcast, you can go to Poor Magazine on SoundCloud or poormagazine.org or wherever you get your podcast from. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, Blue Sky, at Poor Magazine, at Poverty Scholar, or to get all of the complete video podcasts, subscribe to us on YouTube or News Network channel on YouTube. All power to the people.
Power! Woo! All right, family. Thank you.